This interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress. The veteran's name is Harold Brantley. He was born on December 16th, 1921. He served in the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II. He crashed at the Battle of the Bulge and received a Purple Heart. So, Mr. Brantley, can you talk about where you grew up in Charlotte and how that was growing up during the Depression in your early life?
Well, the economy was real bad in those days, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, but people seemed to manage to get along okay. We helped our neighbors, you know, and got through the Great Depression, you know.
So, did you grow up on a farm in Charlotte, or
I grew up and we had the ward system in Charlotte in those days: First Ward, Second Ward, Third Ward, and Fourth Ward. And you had the square, and that was the center of the city. That's the Trine and Trade Streets. And I lived in Fourth Ward, in the Fourth Ward area. Grew up there.
What did your dad do? What did your dad do?
My dad was a railroad conductor.
So, you went to high school also in Charlotte? What high school did you go to?
Central High School.
Central High School. Did you play any sports there?
Yes, I was a state champion high and low hurdler in 1940. State champion, won the state championship.
State champion.
Craig got his speed.
So you are growing up during the Depression, helping your neighbors, and your dad kept his job, and he did okay?
Yes, he kept his job, but sometimes he would only get maybe 15 to 16 days a month work, you know. People weren't riding the trains, they weren't going anywhere because they had no money to go.
So you graduate high school in what year?
In 1940.
1940. And what'd you do after high school?
Central High School. Went to the University of North Carolina for 1 year. Then I was called into service, you know, World War II.
Mm-hmm. And so you were in North Carolina, and where were you? Do you remember where you were when Pearl Harbor was attacked?
That was December the 16th. No,
December the 7th.
7th.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember hearing that news that Pearl Harbor was attacked?
Yes, I left school then. I was working for Procter & Gamble Company. Mm-hmm. I was in Baltimore, Maryland when I heard it. Just as soon as we heard it, we came straight home. I was working for Procter & Gamble.
And so you came straight home?
Straight home from there.
To keep working, or to...
I was working for Procter & Gamble Company.
Okay. So you were drafted in 1941, 1942. When were you drafted?
Right, 41.
Wow, 41.
Yeah.
And why did you choose the Air Corps? Did the Army stick you in the Air Corps, or did you choose?
Well, I was fortunate enough, you know, to get in the Air Force. From there, I got my basic training at Miami, Florida. Then from there, I thought I was going to pre-flight school, but they needed gunners, so I went to Harlingen Gunnery School in Harlingen, Texas, and got training and became an aero gunner.
Can you kind of talk about how did you get selected for the Army Air Corps? Did you take a test and they decided to put you in there?
Well, actually, I thought I was going to pre-flight school.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I thought I was going to pre-flight school, and that was one of the biggest disappointments I had, that they needed gunners, and they sent us to gunnery school.
Mm-hmm. So you went to basic training, not knowing your assignment of flight school. So you went to basic training, went through basic, and how was basic for you? How was basic for you? How was the training? Was it tough?
Well, not too tough. I mean, I had been in sports and things like that, you know, so it wasn't too tough.
Mm-hmm. And so you go to gunner school, and I want to talk a lot about gunner school because I don't really know much about it.
Yeah.
So what was the type of training that you went through?
Well, what we did, they put us in planes, you know, and they had another plane that towed a target. And what we did, we had machine guns. We fired machine guns at the target, and they had colors on the pellets, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when it would go into the target, it would tell how, if you were on target and if you were hitting this target that was being towed by another tow plane.
And so did you learn how to use the machine guns on the ground before they took you up in the air?
Yes, we used on that and also in the air.
And what type of machine gun was it? It was like a M...
50 caliber machine
50
gun.
caliber.
50 caliber machine.
So the huge rounds.
Yeah.
Okay. So you learned how to shoot it in the air, and how hard was it to shoot something in the air? I mean, did you have to judge distance? Did you have
yes, you did. You used the shot ahead of the target, see, just a little bit ahead of the target that's being towed. You would shoot ahead. If it's going this way, you'd shoot ahead of it.
And was the plane being towed moving a lot faster than you, so it was more difficult to hit?
Not a great deal faster.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it was faster, yes.
For realistic purposes, because I'm sure you faced the Me-109 and the German planes that were a lot faster than your bomber.
We were shown pictures of that all the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The German planes, the Zero, and the German plane, the
Me-109?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, I mean, did you learn specifics about each plane that you knew you were going to face in the air? Did you learn specifics about the Japanese Zero and how they attack?
Yes, they did. They showed us film of all of that.
Mm. And did they? I know one tactic used to be they would come out of the sun. Did they still, or did you ever encounter that whenever you faced them?
I don't remember that.
Hmm. So you're in gunner school. You're learning how to use the weapons and shooting them out of the air. And when did you get assignment?
I say it was May 43.
So you spent approximately a year in gunnery school?
And further training, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then go ahead.
And were you technically in the 8th Air Force?
Yes.
You were in the 8th Air Force.
In the 8th Air Force, and then after that, I went to the 9th Air Force. The 9th Air Force really was a spin-off of the 8th Air Force.
Mm-hmm. So
I was on most of the Air Force made up of B-17s and B-24s, heavy bombers. I was on a B-26 Martin Marauder.
A light bomber.
Light bomber,
medium.
2-engine.
Mm. So you go overseas. Did you take troop transport overseas after your training was complete?
No, we flew from, let's say, Nova Scotia, flew directly across from Nova Scotia to Valley, Wales. Then we were assigned to our outfits, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you took your B-26 from Nova Scotia.
No, went over on B-17s.
Mm.
I originally went over on B-17s, and they needed gunners in the 9th Air Force, and so that's how I wound up on a B-26.
Okay, so did you fly on a B-17 ever in combat missions, or was it just B-26?
Never did. As soon as we got there, it was just a short time before we were reassigned.
Mm-hmm. So you get over to England. How was life in England during the war?
Very good. The people were especially good to our troops over there. Especially good.
Were your barracks pretty nice compared to what other people got?
Well, we slept in Quonset huts. Over there.
How was the food?
It was good. It's GI food. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
And then did you get to go out, were you stationed near London? Did you ever get to go visit London?
I got to London, I guess, about 3 times. And at that time, they were shooting, Germans were shooting buzz bombs over to England, A buzz bomb just sounded like an outboard motorboat, when it would come over our base there in England. And then they came with the V1. That was actually a rocket,
Did you ever see a buzz bomb?
Yes, it came over our base, and they weren't flying very high,
Mm-hmm. Could you see the destruction of the German Blitz in London? Could you see a lot of buildings that had been destroyed? And
yes, good many of those. Yes, we got passes from time to time to go into London. 48-hour pass,
Mm-hmm.
I was stationed about 30 miles northeast in Chelmsford, England, and we got passes going to London.
Was your base specifically for bombers, or was it for also fighter aircraft as well?
Bombers.
Bomber base.
386 bomb group.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself, but were you involved? I know that they picked up heavy bombing in all of France, preparing for the invasion. Were you involved with that at all?
No, it wasn't. I didn't fly on V-Day, whatever. I didn't fly a mission that day.
But did you, the month before that, did you?
Our outfit, wasn't assigned to fly that day, but they made some of them make 2 flights a day over there.
Ooh. So do you remember your first combat mission?
Yes, I did, and we didn't have any problem at all. And if you flew 25 missions, you got to come home.
Mm-hmm.
If you flew 25 missions. So I didn't have any problem at all. We came back, and the operational officer, he said, "Brantley, how's your flight?" And I said, "It was nothing to it." And I said, "Go ahead and assign me to as many missions as you can, because I want to get it over with and go home." So we went over there. The next time we shot up over, of all places, Paris, France. Shot down part of our planes there. We made it back. Shot out a hydraulic system, and we ran off the runway and tipped over and into farmer's land and tipped up, and I dropped out of the plane,
Jeez.
Not a scratch on me, And that's when I told my flight officer, I told him, I said, I want to, get as many. Then we got, oh gosh.
Well, did you have a flak jacket? Did you face a lot of flak during your time up there? I mean, or did
that was the worst thing that we had. That's what I want to bring up, was flak.
Mm-hmm.
Not enemy planes, anything, not the German planes, especially, but flak was our biggest thing.
Mm. And can you describe flak? Wouldn't it? I mean, it would explode in the air and shoot shrapnel throughout the plane, correct?
And, I felt a draft behind me. I was flying tail gunner on B-26. I felt a draft behind me. I looked back, and there was a hole in the back behind me about that big in the fuselage of the plane.
Yeah. So, did you ever see enemy fighters? Did you ever see them? Enemy fighter planes?
Most of the German Air Force had been knocked out by that time.
Mm-hmm.
They'd been pretty well, depleted.
So were you ever attacked by enemy fighters during your time? Did you ever shoot at an enemy fighter?
Some. I don't know whether I knocked anything down or not, to be honest with you, but anyway, we had P-51 fighter escorts that flew on out, from us,
Mm-hmm.
But our biggest problem was flak.
Mm. Wow. So you fly. What was your scariest mission? But I guess besides crashing, actually we'll get to that. So you flew on the Battle of the Bulge. They couldn't fly because of the fog and the clouds and stuff. But once it opened up, you were able to make a mission.
How
correct?
did you know that?
I researched a lot.
Okay, that's exactly right. The temperature was below ceiling, 0, and visibility was the same. You couldn't see across the street there, and that's how we crashed. See, what we did, you got 3 planes going down the runway at one time, one lifting off, one halfway down, then one getting ready to go, and so we ran in behind the lead plane and hit prop wash, and it threw us up. We lost altitude and crash landed.
Ooh.
That was during the Battle of the Bulge. We crash landed. I was fortunate enough to crawl out the waist window.
Mm-hmm.
We tore along on the ground, for I don't know how long, Then I was fortunate enough to crawl out the waist window, and the co-pilot and engineer looked back and happened to see me. And they came and ran and grabbed me by my arm. Broke my left leg.
Ooh.
They ran with me and just threw me in a ditch and said, "Hold on your head." And then the plane, it was caught on fire. The bombs were still on there, and they stayed in the shackles, by the way. The bombs stayed in the shackles, and of course the plane caught on fire and blew up.
Mm.
After I crawled out there, I guess it was just a matter of seconds, and I doubt if it was a minute before the plane blew up.
Did you lose any of your
Lost
any of your team?
Just one man. All the rest of them able to get out.
Mm.
That's when the pilot and the engineer, they were up in the front end of the hatch, and they jumped out and ran back in. Happened to see me. It was fortunate that they saw me, because I would have been blown up.
Mm. Now, were you close with anybody specifically, your flight crew, or did you fly with a different crew?
We flew with different crews, and I don't know. After that, I was sent back to England, for my injuries,
Mm-hmm.
I went back to Cherbourg, France. Put me on a hospital ship and took me to England, to Worcester, England.
And you had what were your injuries? What were your injuries? You had a broken leg
and back injuries.
Mm. And did you know that you were about to crash? Did you brace yourself? Can you describe what happened through your eyes?
I'm lost.
I was fine. So
I'm lost.
You were about to crash, and could you feel the plane? About to crash. Did you know you were about to crash when it was happening?
Yes, I did. It tore along. That's when it just tore along on the ground,
Mm-hmm. And did you get to brace yourself?
I was just holding on for dear life, to tell you the truth. I was holding on to a footrest of a top turret that went around 3/6. I was holding on here, and I was able to hold on that,
Mm.
And then I had senses enough, to crawl out of the plane, and I think I told you that while
Mm-hmm.
And the co-pilot and the engineer just happened to see me, and they ran back in, just ran with me and threw me in a ditch and said, "Cover." I remember saying, "Cover your head." And of course, when the plane blew up, it was parts of the plane, everything just landing around us, dirt, grit, and everything.
And where were you? Where was the plane when it crashed? Were you in a farm?
Yes, we were in Beaumont, France. When we crashed, Beaumont, France.
And so you had gone from England.
That was north of Paris.
Okay, so you had gone from England already.
Yes.
Moved to France to a runway there to get closer to Germany, I'm assuming.
Right.
And had you Did you have any bombing missions over Germany?
Yes, I think most of them over France. So,
Since you were a medium bomber, did you attack smaller targets? What was your typical target?
Marshalling yards, railroad yards, and things like that. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm. So whenever you would go in,
the heavies, really went in. The heavies, those are B-17s and B-24s, really went in
to the factories and the
yeah.
So
like I said, we hit railroad yards and things like that.
So describe your typical day. You're going to make a flight in the morning. It's the night before, and they wake you up at 3:30 a.m.
That's right.
And so they wake you up really early, and you go get breakfast and go into briefing.
Briefing, that's exactly right.
And what do they talk about in briefing?
Well, they would more or less tell you, where the target was going to be that day.
Mm-hmm. And you were probably not having to be briefed about the target as much as the bombardier, let's say, but so you still went to briefing, and then usually what time would your plane take off? What time would the mission start in the mornings?
Well, early.
Early? When it's still kind of, the sun is rising? Or
right.
Wow. And was it cold up whenever you were flying?
Yes, they were on meeting. We would see B-17s and 24s, they were on oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
But we flew around 11,000 feet and we didn't have oxygen up. But we had heavy suits, big fur-lined boots, 3/4 left leg.
Did you have the electronic heating system suits that the heavier bombers had?
No, we didn't have that.
Okay. So
on B-26, see, your medium bombers were B-25s
mm-hmm.
and B-26s. Your heavies were 17s and 24s.
Was the flak worse for you guys than
the worst thing about it was flak.
Mm.
As far as German Air Force, they'd pretty well beaten them down, really,
Mm-hmm. Did any of your crew ever get injured by the flak? Ever get wounded from flak?
Yes, a co-pilot did. Our co-pilot did, and he sort of crashed after that. I mean, I can't think of the word.
Mm-hmm. He passed out?
Yeah.
But did he live?
And he didn't. They took him out of flight. He didn't have to fly anymore.
Mm. And after
he got some flak in his leg and his calf.
Ooh. So after you were shot down, you were not shot down. After you crashed,
yes.
And you were injured, and you were taken back to France on a transport ship.
On the hospital ship. We went to Worcester, England. I was in the hospital there, I guess, for 2 months.
Mm.
Then from there I went to a convalescent center, and that was December the 26th when we crashed. I was in the hospital for approximately 2 months. Then went to a convalescent center, and then short time later, the war ended in May,
Mm-hmm.
So I got to come home.
So
broke his back.
Right. I was gonna ask you. So you broke your back and you broke your leg. Can you kind of talk about your experience in the hospital, the food, atmosphere?
It was good. I saw fellows that were way worse shape than I was in.
Mm.
Some had been in. I remember one fellow in particular and hit by a tank. He was in a tank and hit, and had both legs taken off. And he got gangrene. They kept taking more of his leg. Got way up in here. It was terrible.
So, did they ever do any surgery on your back, or were you just in bed for 2 months and couldn't
No,
move.
what they did, they put me on a pad when they took me over there, about, and they gave me therapy and everything, and I got straightened out okay.
You got straightened out.
Yeah.
So after that, did you have any thoughts about, were you able to fly even though you didn't after you got out of the hospital? Do you think you could have flown if the war would have lasted longer?
Yeah, I would have probably gone back, yes, to flying.
Mm. And did you have any thoughts about Japan and how they had not surrendered, and how if there would be an invasion of Japan that you would be in that?
There was some talk of it, of going there, but I think the war ended.
Mm-hmm.
If I got it straight.
Yes, sir. And about August, so...
Yeah.
Well, cool.
That's right. It was August.
Mm-hmm. So you rehabilitated and you went back. Eventually you were discharged in, what month was that? October. So you're discharged in October.
That's right.
And you returned home to Charlotte.
Right.
And did you get a job? What kind of talk about your life after the war?
Well, I can't even remember.
That's all right.
I can't even remember what.
It's quite all right.
I came on home, and
how was it to see your parents again?
Wonderful.
And did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I had two brothers. My older brother died of cancer.
Mm.
When he was 75 years old in Montgomery, Alabama, and then my younger brother's still living here in Charlotte.
Did your older brother fight in World War II as well?
Yes, he was in artillery.
So
on half tracks, if you know what a half track is.
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah.
So you return home, have a family homecoming, and
oh yes.
And then did you meet your wife before the war or after the war?
After the war.
After the war.
Best thing that ever happened to me.
Where'd you meet her?
Right here in Charlotte.
Well, neat.
Right here in Charlotte.
Well, Mr. Brantley, I really appreciate your interview. Thank you so much for your service to our country.
I don't know how well I did, but
it was good.